Why does just splitting an Ethernet cable not work? I thought the Ethernet is logically a one-line communication bus. For argument's sake, I am excluding hubs. All machines attached on the bus hears the same signals, and the machines themselves try to avoid collisions by randomly backing off this URL. If so, why would splitting one Ethernet line from my home router into two and connecting two computers not work? Why do I have to add a switch to it? What the internet said would not work. What the internet said I should do. Is this because of the signal degradation, reduced electric current? Thank you for all the answers. The reason why I did not just use the 2 ports of my home router is the 4-port gigabit router is in my room, and I had put a computer in another room, also my room, though. Since a wired network is far more reliable and secure, I had bought a long Ethernet cable and connected the computer to the router. Now I was thinking about adding another computer to that room. I could buy another long Ethernet cable, but then there will be 2 cables between the rooms. The one line already is a minor annoyance, so I thought if I could share the one line between the 2 computers in that room. A switch would work, but it requires power and is a little bit pricey. That is why I wondered why it would not work to simply split the physical Ethernet cable. Apparently I do not completely understand how Ethernet and a switch work. I just have some bit of knowledge I heard in my college class.
In 10 base T and 100 base TX, one pair of wires is used for transmitting, and one for receiving. That is, one pair is the pair the Ethernet host transmits on, and the hub or switch receives on, and the other pair is the pair that the hub/switch transmits on, and the Ethernet host receives on. If you split the cable with a simple passive splitter, you're hooking up those 2 Ethernet hosts, transmitter to transmitter and receiver to receiver. That's like holding the phone handset upside down and trying to speak into the speaker and listen to the microphone. It just doesn't work. So even if both were in half-duplex mode, like they were hooked to a hub, not a switch, neither of the Ethernet hosts would be able to sense when the other was transmitting, because neither one's receiver was hooked up to the other one's transmitter. So they would have undetectable collisions. Not to mention that they'd both be connected to the same port of the hub, probably confusing the hub's auto-negotiation ability, because hubs don't expect to auto-negotiate with 2 separate hosts on the same port. In many ways, things are even worse in your case of hooking them both up to a switch, because they could both end up thinking they can do full duplex, which means even more undetectable collisions, on what's supposed to be a collision-free link. Properly wired full duplex links can't possibly have collisions. With 1000 base T, gigabit Ethernet over Cat5 or better UTP copper cabling, the situation is even worse, because all 4 pairs of wires are used for both transmit and receive, simultaneous, full duplex, and the transceivers are sophisticated enough to enable that. But if you suddenly have a third party on the line transmitting and receiving all at the same time, it completely blows away the way the simultaneous bidirectional signaling scheme works. With 3 devices all transmitting at the same time, even when you subtract out your own transmission, you can't differentiate the other 2 devices' transmissions in the signal you're receiving. Some early flavors of Ethernet, such as 10 base 2 aka Thinet aka CheaperNet, featured a bus topology where all the hosts on the LAN literally shared the same wire, the same coaxial cable. Because the same wire was used for both TX and RX and there could be any number of hosts on the bus, it had to be half duplex. But a 10-base-2 transceiver was expecting it to be that way. And since all the transmitters and receivers were hooked up to the same wire, everyone could hear each other, unlike your split 10/100/1000 base T example.
If your network is 100 base TX with a Cat5 cable, you can split the cable, but you do so by using an adapter to use all 4 pairs in your existing long Cat5 cable. Usually only 2 of the 4 pairs are used. So you'd need 2 very short patch cables at the router's end, 2 RJ45/Cat5 LAN splitters, and some longer patch cables at the computer's end. In the diagram below, Y signifies a splitter and an arrow signifies one Cat5 cable. The above solution won't require an extra power source, but it will require use of 2 ports on your router, but it would at least be tidier than 2 separate cables running in parallel. See also the discussion on 100 base TX and its wiring in Fast Ethernet, subsection copper.
I'm surprised I must disagree with Spiff. In a sense it does work. We were hunting the cause of excessive packet errors in the factory. Among other things, we found where some electrician had simply spliced a Y into a 100 base T network cable. The 2 computers involved sometimes had network errors, but since this persisted for a long time while the users used a program that was on the network and all its data, except stuff written to the temp directory, was on the network, I can conclusively say it's possible. The switches are the traffic lights of the network. Without them, packets run into each other badly. Normally the network protocol makes up for the lost packets, though.
The original Ethernet spec called for coaxial cables that were tapped, split, to each workstation, hence the Ether and Ethernet. But we're talking ancient history here. Technically it's still possible with RJ45 cables since the Ethernet protocol still supports the collision detection mechanisms, but why in God's name would you want to set it up that way? Especially since your router has 4 ports to work with in the first place.
If you want to support the channel,